you have as an input through sensors, different sensors, process through a dedicated microchip that will store the preset value and actual value. Actual value is the actual value that keeps on get from the sensor, and the preset value is the user that will input. So I was just talking about the car security system. In car security system, obviously you have is a touch sensor that will help you to take the data from the environment, which means to see with how much intensity did any object strike the car or how much vibration there was. Fine. Then the processing will be that if the value is more than the preset value, then the actuator, which is the alarm, the buzzer, should turn on. And within these car security systems, if you open up, there's a green box. There is this button through which you can actually increase and decrease the intensity. Okay, this is why at times even if you hit the car, the alarm doesn't turn on, and sometimes even if you bang the door inside the house, the alarm turns on. Because it's due to the sensitivity that has been set in this car security system. You can talk about traffic control system. Okay, you can talk about any industrial application where control system in computer aided manufacturing, you have a lot of control systems being involved. Okay, so you will find lots of places where control systems are being used. For example, we could talk about a poultry farm. If you have an automated poultry farm where no human intervention is allowed for let's say a week, how can control systems take place? You'll have these feeders that will have weight sensors within them. We will say if the amount, the weight decreases more than this, then you will have is a lid that opens up and feeds come in. So you will have a sensor, weight sensor, that keeps on taking the data from the environment and sees how much weight do you have on the feeder. And then the lid opens up and feeds it in. Same way you can have water bins in which you will have water level sensor and you will see how much water level is required and not required. Same way you will have temperature control within them. The same way you can have humidity control within these poultry farms. So this way, if we are able to control all these variables, we obviously do not need humans to interfere for a while. You get the point. So you can talk about any particular control systems that could be used. So just remember, the important thing is sensors take the data from the environment. Your dedicated microchip does what? Compares the actual value with the preset value, and you have an actuator that do particular job, physically do it, or they will light it up or do something else. Yes or no? These are your monitoring and control system. In case of a hospital, we will have both. If a patient's blood pressure or oxygen level is being monitored, and if it exceeds a particular amount, you will have the control system. Why? Because you will have a buzzer turned on. You will have some other alarm turned on. When actuator gets involved, it's not a monitoring system, it's a control system. Monitoring system में actuators involved नहीं होते. So in many cases, you do have both involved. You can talk about your home security system. In home security system, you can have infrared sensors that can keep on monitoring if someone is passing by or not. And if someone does, you will have is an alarm, okay, that turns on. So you have a monitoring sensor that keeps on monitoring the data. At the same time, if it exceeds the amount or something happens, you will have a control system as well that will activate the alarms, the lights, the buzzers, or send a message to the police station or something else, right? Okay. Anytime. Let's talk about traffic control system. In a traffic control system, if you have a computerized traffic control system, we call it the green link. The green link basically means that when you are basically in a junction and you have, let's say, 50 vehicles on one lane and you have 10 vehicles on one lane, you are not giving the same time to both of them. It's not rational to do that. The point is, we should be able to count the number of vehicles that we have on one lane, and we should be able to count the vehicles on either lane. So this can be done with the help of sensors. We can use distance sensors, we can use proximity sensors, okay, or we can use pressure pads embedded on roads. So through this, we'll be able to count approximately, not exactly, how many vehicles are there. So if we are able to use sensors to approximately count the number of vehicles we have in a lane, we could have a dedicated microprocessor in which an algorithm could be fed in that says that if the number of cars is between 0 and 20, give 20 seconds. And if the number of cars is between 20 and 50, give this much time. If it exceeds more than 50, then give this much time. So you have over here sensors that keep on taking data from the environment, which is counting the number of cars we have. Depending upon that, you will be giving the time to that particular lane. This is what GreenLink is all about, okay? Right. So yes, you're right. Any particular scenario could come in, but it's very simple to deal with it. Talk about the different sensors you think relevantly that could be used for that scenario. Talk about any preset and actual value that you think will be involved. Talk about any actuator do you think will be involved. That's it. If they're emphasizing on monitoring, emphasize on the fact that data needs to be saved. Yes or no? If they're talking about control, you need to emphasize on the fact that it has to be controlled. And this controlling is done through an actuator. Okay. So the following sensors, obviously you should be aware of. How do they actually work is not much of our concern, but I'll just give you some idea. For example, light sensor में क्या होता है आपके street lights में, how does it turn on when it gets dark? You basically have is a resistor जिस पे when ultraviolet light is thrown, the resistance increases to 100% ohms. Okay, when it increases, so obviously electric current doesn't flow through it. So it's all because of the ultraviolet light that basically is thrown on the resistor. Okay, okay, ohms increase हो जाते हैं, ohms decrease हो जाते हैं, the current flows and current doesn't flow. Okay, but again, like I said, we don't have to go into detail, so I will not discuss that. Actuators, I have discussed with you. Please go through these. I have talked about these. Greenhouse, I have given an example, okay. What actuator can be used for what particular purpose, we had a talk on this, okay. Right. Modeling things. The third is the modeling things. Now, before actual 3D models were created, actual 3D physical models of buildings, bridges were created. Why they were created? Obviously there was a reason. They wanted to see how the actual building or bridge will look like. They wanted to see the center of gravity of every object. Obviously it's very important. They had to see that how aerodynamic is the building or the bridge, what effect will you have when an earthquake comes or some other issues might come. Obviously it's much easier to rectify problems when you have a model than actually constructing something and then saying, oh, it went wrong. You cannot waste so much money. So when 3D models came into existence, computer models, there was a lot of advantage. These models had a lot of advantage because you could change the variables anytime. You have a 3D model, you can change the air pressure, the air direction, the center of gravity to see how the model will actually be like. You could redesign it within minutes or hours. It won't take much time. Yes, initially it takes time to create a model, but it's nothing as creating an actual thing. The cost is nothing. You are actually saving human casualties as well. Because if you make something and it doesn't work, you might even sacrifice some worker's life as well. You get the point? Okay. Now, computer models basically do what? They have a database that keeps on saving it. When we talk about weather forecasting model, what do we mean by that? Weather forecasting models क्या होते हैं? You know the difference between climate and weather? Climate goes for a longer time. You know that there has been climate change over the past decades. Now what happens is, let's talk about 5 to 6 decades. During the 5 to 6 decades, scientists have created models over years, which include months and days. Now what they do is they keep on taking the data every day, month, year. So you will have an idea, let's say, during this time, this date, we had this much humidity, this much air pressure, and this much temperature. When we had this, there was a probability that might rain, and it did rain. So if we take into context 10 years, 20 years, 90% we had a chance that there was a rainfall because of the following variables fell in. So because of these models, we can tell that this is what our prediction is, that obviously it might rain or it might not rain. So this is what models are. Models have a database knowledge at the back end, which could be compared with the present preset results to tell what might happen right now. These are known as computer models. Not only creating a 3D, but also having its own database that can help you and tell you what might happen. Are you getting the point? Yes or no? This is what modeling systems are all about. And this is why 3D models have become very famous now. Okay? In the manufacturing of every product, before it's actually manufactured, what we do is we use CAD, computer aided designing. Computer aided designing is done through different software such as AutoCAD. Okay? AutoCAD will help you to design these products, buildings, whatever you're talking about. Why would we do so? Obviously, we would like to see when it's manufactured, when it's physically present in front of us, does it actually show as if it was supposed to show? Are there any problems within it? So, and it's very easy to change variables, like I said before as well, in these models. It won't take time. Okay. So, computer models could be created for cars, obviously, before actually car is manufactured, to see what effect you might have in case of any accident or so. Okay. You can have a look at the momentum that it might gain in 0 to 10 seconds, and there are lots of other things that you can see. Okay, how much, again, aerodynamic your car actually is. So models help you to find out a lot of things. Talk about weather forecasting, I talked about wages, so you can go through this. Okay. Simulations is something else. If you talk about simulations, obviously you know what simulations are. All of you have obviously visited many places where you experience different simulations. Simulations are just like virtual life-like situations. Simulations are not only there for entertainment. The reason why simulations came in was, again, to save cost. Your flight simulator basically is not a game. Flight simulator was initially developed by Microsoft, and it had a proper cockpit. Okay, you can order it. Obviously, it was a bit expensive, but you can actually learn how to fly a plane. Okay, so now you have train simulators, even you have car simulators. All these simulators have been developed so that you don't actually have to go on road, fly a plane. You would not give obviously an experienced person to fly a plane. You have to have a simulator for that. So it can be used for any particular case. Obviously, you can talk about the advantages. You will not incur so many expenses by using the actual thing. You can repeat the steps again and again as many times as you want to, because it's very cost effective. It won't cost you anything. Okay. Yeah, the initial cost of creating a simulation is something which is a bit concerned. It's expensive, but running cost is very low as compared to the actual thing if it's being made. And again, human casualties का point इसमें भी आता है. If you have a simulation, the first thing is you're saving human lives. That's one of the most important things for creating simulation, right? Okay. And again, obviously, you can talk about there might be different variables that due to natural outcomes we might ignore, but they might come when we experience them through your simulations. You might ignore them. So this is what simulations are. Simulation and modeling are quite the same if you talk them. Okay, expert system. One of the most important systems that we should talk about, because you always get one question from this or two questions from this. An expert system basically is what? Obviously by its name, an expert. You have lots of expert systems online, medical diagnosis expert system, where you don't actually have to visit a doctor. Okay. Most professional expert systems have to be purchased. Free expert systems are not very professionally made. An expert system is there to give an expert advice on a particular topic, whether it's car fault diagnosis, whether it's plant and animal identification, whether it's credit analysis, whether it's medical diagnosis. Let's start with medical diagnosis. Let's say you want to refer to the best neurosurgeon in the world. What you will do is your system engineer will be involved in taking interviews from these best neurosurgeons in the world. Over a period of time, let's say month, 2 months, 1 year, they will keep on interviewing these neurosurgeons. Now, this will not be one person, these might be different expert people. Now this process through which knowledge is gathered is known as data mining, right? Data mining is a process through which knowledge is gathered and saved in a database. Okay, this is known as data mining. Gathering up knowledge and saving it. Once data mining has been done, okay, once data mining has been done, the important part will be how to create. आपके पास एक database आ गई है, and in your database you have a lot of information about a particular field. Now you want to do is you want to create as an interface. एक simple interface होगा where you have a text box where you can type your question and submit. Once you submit, you should get the answer. Okay, fine. What problem do you have? It tells you, okay, do you have this? After 4 to 5, 6 to 7 queries, questions, you will come to an output that this is what the problem is. Now, how does it happen? The front end and the back end. The back end is your database. The front end is where you type in. You have to connect your front end with the back end. How do you connect the front end with the back end? It's a middleware. Middleware क्या होता है? Middleware basically consists of your inference engine. Inference engine is that will have different interrogation techniques. You know what the word interrogation means? When you have to find out something, when you have to search for something. So interrogation techniques will consist of rule base. What are rule base? Rule base will be different loops. If you find this, then display this. Otherwise, if you find this, display this. Or using loops such as while and do while loop. So by using different loops such as if, your interrogation techniques will help the inference engine to gather the data from the backend and display it back to the user. This entire process keeps on going on. Now, you should be able to compare and contrast the difference between a search engine and an expert system. Can you tell me, what could be the difference that you're thinking of that there is between an expert system and a search engine? Excellent, you said it. Search engine is jack of all trades. Search engine does not have expertise in one particular field. Excellent, that's what I wanted. And one more thing, your search engine merely includes database of all the keywords that reside within websites. If I say LGS 101, you will get all the web pages wherever LGS 101 is appearing, whether it's a blog, whether it's a forum, whether it's any particular website. So it will just display all those websites that consist of these words. It does not hold any expertise. Google, frankly speaking, I shouldn't be recording this, is not doing a big job. It's just doing is, it tells us कि कौन-कौन सी website में कौन-कौन सी strings आ रही हैं, and it has done an awesome job, an excellent job, because you had websites that were spread around everywhere on different remote servers, but we were not able to grasp the pages that were residing on the servers. So they came up with Google, and it was a way to find out कि कौन-कौन की website में कौन-कौन सा data पड़ा हुआ है, वो आप user को display करा दो. This was your Google. Okay, yes or no? The idea. It's all the ideas that basically work in IT, frankly. Okay, it's not a lot of effort. It's idea that matters a lot. Okay, so your expert system is this. So if we talk about different expert systems, we can talk about car fault diagnose, which means now in case of car fault, there are two kinds of expert system. One is a universal expert system, and one is your specific expert system for that car. For example, on the Civic, they have their own expert system. All you have to do is you attach the expert system to the BIOS of the car. Okay, there's a BIOS chip, usko directly attach kar do. It will tell you what the problem is. But if you want an expert system that can tell you about 1987 Volkswagen, okay, it didn't have any microchip, how would you refer to that? So you'll have a universal expert system that will tell you about every car. Okay, my car is facing the falling problem. Okay, do you have the falling problem? Then you'll type, and keep on typing, it will keep on telling you, okay, this is the most probable reason you are having problem. Okay, so there are two different kinds of expert system. One is a universal expert system, and one is a specific expert system developed for that car. Yes or no? You have animal and plant identification. Animal and plant identification expert system क्या होगा? You come across any weird plant, weird animal, you want to know what this animal and plant is. So you have an expert system that has a database of all the animals and plants one can even think of, and it will tell you right away, this animal and plant is this. Yes or no? You have mineral prospecting. Mineral prospecting helps you to find out. Oil companies spend most of their budget in the drilling process. 80% is spent in the drilling. What if they drill and they find out there is no oil, there are no minerals? They'll be wasting time. Or obviously, time is money for them. So expert system helps them a lot. How does it help? Expert system basically will do is, expert system will tell them, okay, you know what? When you go to the following longitude and latitude, this particular area, take the following samples of the soil, do the following chemical reaction on it. If the output is this, then do this. It will go through different processes. It will even, your expert system over here will also use a modeling system, which means it will tell you that the following geologist came 2 decades back over here, or 3 years back over here nearby, and they were able to discover the following mineral. So there's more probability that you might find this mineral along with it. Okay, for example, you will find magnesium with copper. It's more probability both of them reside at the same time. Okay, so expert system will have its own more modeling system as well. So this is why mineral prospecting has an expert system. Frankly speaking, let me tell you, expert systems can be used for any particular task. Any particular task. Just think of anything. Wherever you want an expertise, knowledge to be used, you can use it. Okay, I'm working on one of the expert system for my students. That's student counseling. We don't have one. We don't have an expert system that tells our students what to do. I want to apply in the following university, what should I do? You don't have it online. You have it online, but they're very expensive. In Pakistan, we don't have one. I'm working on it. I'm trying to make an app for that as well, and inshallah, in 2-3 months more, it will be completed, where all the students will just enter their information and they will get to know where can they apply and where cannot they apply. So it's a big task. So yes, now I'm not the expert obviously, but I'm gathering the information from different expert people and I'm saving it in my database, and then I will later use it. But I am not a student counsel myself. Yes, I am asking universities, I'm asking different people who hold knowledge and expert in this field, then I'll make it in software. So it's not just one area. You can talk about any particular area where expertise are required. You can develop and use an expert system over there. The question that CI will basically target you will be, what are the different steps in the creation of an expert system? Where you will talk about all 4. You will talk about your initial knowledge base. You will talk about the front end, the GUI. You will talk about your inference engine. Remember? And then you will talk about, lastly is the output 4. I did not discuss that. Once your expert system has given you the result, एक output भी तो होगा. And this output could be visually displayed or printed out. It might only visually be displayed or it might be printed out, depends on the fact. So whenever a question comes of 6 marks where you have to elaborate and explain how an expert system is developed, you will talk about all these 4 points. Or individually भी question आता है इसका 3 marks का, okay, please explain about the knowledge base. Okay, right. Next, what you have is you have to talk about the advantage and disadvantages of an expert system. Very important. Again, you can get a question. Well, let's talk about the advantages. Obviously, advantages will include that you have an expert system and many people will hesitate to ask questions. But in case of an expert system, no one will be hesitant to ask any particular question. So they will openly ask questions to an expert system. One point is that. You can use the expert system any minute, any time you want to. There is no time restriction. Okay. You can have trainees who can learn a lot. Trainees, the junior doctors can learn a lot from the expert system. So people who join a particular field can gather up a lot of knowledge through an expert system. Right? Disadvantage of an expert system will include that it has to be updated. Most of the expert systems have to be updated. If your medical expert system is not updated, there is no point. So there will be many expert systems that need to be updated. That's disadvantage. Creating an expert system is an expensive thing. It requires time. It's a disadvantage. If someone does not know how to use a computer system, has to be trained how to use one, it's a disadvantage. You get the point? Because still we do have lots of people around the world who do not know how to use computer systems. So using an expert system will require some training for these people. So this could be considered as a disadvantage. Yes or no? Can you think of any other advantage, disadvantage? Excellent, very well done. One of the very important point. We still don't say that expert systems are 100% accurate. We'll never say that. Yes, we will say they're 99.9% accurate, but 0.1% inaccuracy is still there. And this inaccuracy is one of the points that creates another problem. People's trust. People don't trust medical expert systems to a lot of extent because they will always say, after all, it's a computer. How could I trust a computer to diagnose my problem or prescribe any medicine? Okay, so that's a very good point. Yes, and one other point is legal and ethical dilemma, which basically means if something goes wrong, who takes the responsibility? Because whenever you purchase an expert system, in the terms and conditions it always says that the expert system does not take any responsibility if something goes wrong. So then this means who takes the responsibility? So legally and ethically, do you have an issue over there? That's another point. You get the point? Right? Okay. Please go through all of this. I have discussed all this with you. Car fault, chess game. Communication system is not much of importance. The only thing is communication system just requires video conferencing, emailing, other means through which these systems that are specifically used for communication. In companies, you have systems allocated just for communication, for video conferencing, for web conferencing. Okay? Yes or no? By the way, do you know there is a difference between video conferencing and web conferencing? Video conferencing always includes video. That's what the purpose is, so that everyone is sitting in front of camera and they can interact with the other end. They have sound, video, they have speakers, they have large multimedia system, LCD to communicate. You know that. Web conferencing is a different concept. Web conferencing has a web portal through which you can actually share documents, share screens, and see what different people are doing. Web conferencing necessarily does not include video. It's optional. It can include, but it's not always there. Web conferencing. Okay? Web conferencing का मतलब सिर्फ ये होता है to basically share screens, share files, and message and communicate. That's what web conferencing is all about. Right? Okay. This was all. I would specifically tell you कि आपने book में कहाँ से करना है, मगर